I didn't even answer.
Here we are. Okay.
Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome. And it is Mike's turn to do the welcoming this morning. All right, Mike.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I sure can.
Very good. And good morning, everyone.
All right. Good morning.
Welcome. And thank you for joining us in the spirit of perfect harmony. We are the Center for Spiritual Living, West Georgia. We study and practice the philosophy and science of the mind we know as God. And through our spiritual presence and our participation in our service this morning, we create a higher state of consciousness, rise above any negative energy that prevailed this past week, and manifest love. Love is synonymous to God. Our master teacher, Reverend Dr. Sandra Jackson, has been providing us with daily inspirational messages throughout the past week and kept our spirits high, and will now proceed with our service.
All right. Thank you, Mike. So, Floyd, you're on mute. Was that last week or this week? You're on mute.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah. Okay. Was that last week or this week?
What was last week or this week? Last week, Mr. AT&T did a number on me.
Oh, okay.
One connection, and I wasn't here.
Oh, okay. Well, then it was this week.
Okay.
The opening prayer. Floyd's doing an opening prayer this morning.
All right.
All right.
So let's go within. Go to that place where you connect with that incredible creative force that is within each and every one of us. And know that today, I let the spirit of love enfold me. And I go home to that sacred place within me that has never known anything but love. In this place, there is no discord, no lack, no limitation, only the fulfillment of the real, the true, and the blessed. I am the infinite expression of love. Love opens the way where there may have appeared to be no way. When love is in charge, good happens. Each and every day starts with thoughts of love. And I rejoice in knowing that I am loved and lovable. And I am now making love my way of life. I know all I need to do is open myself to listen and receive the direction and the courage needed to live a loving, achieving life. I'm grateful for this knowledge, for this power greater than I am that I can use. And I'm grateful for the God power that fills me and lets me live victoriously. Love is my way of life. I let it go and let it happen, and so it is.
And so it is. All right. Thank you so much, Floyd. All right. So, Marcia.
ESL, West Georgia,
is a joyful
community where everyone belongs. Through our unique spiritual teachings, we provide a safe environment to experience compassionate living. And a declaration of principles. I believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. There is one life which I am a part, one intelligence which I use, one substance which takes form as my life.
Okay. And so it is. Cynthia and
yes.
And Connie.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
All right.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good morning. A little bird sent me a message and told me to learn the song. So this is for Reverend Sandra. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we to sing along with us now, or sing in your heart. It's a simple song, very, very, very important. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. It's pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. It's pure spirit. We are light. We are love. We are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom, a beautiful harmony of pure spirit, a beautiful harmony, we are pure spirit.
It's wonderful to have a song that is actually an affirmation. So remember who you are today and every day. And this morning's reading is done by Zizi.
Good morning. This is from A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes and Willis Kinnear. The foundation of success. All truly successful people carry with them an atmosphere of affirmative expectation. They expect to prosper and succeed. Almost automatically, situations and conditions surround are attracted to them that make success possible. It would be impossible for them not to be successful. Some people just naturally think success. Other of us seem to labor with the idea. In such a case, we must re-educate ourselves in the way we think. The end result of such a process is what we arrive at the point where we come to know that we are daily guided and governed by a supreme intelligence and acted upon by a power greater than we are. Right here is where faith plays a very important role. A faith that is simple and that we already possess. We never try to argue ourselves into believing that we are alive or that the world is round or that water is wet. We accept these simple propositions because something within us knows that they are true. We also accept more profound conclusions with equal faith. Man is born to believe, to have faith in something greater than he is. For he's a divine being and always carries with him some echo of that infinite source in which he lives and moves. This faith that we should have is not a faith in some extraordinary belief, in something that we just hope is true, but rather a fundamental conviction that every normal person should hold about life, whether he has ever analyzed it or not. A faith in an overshadowing presence which guides and a law which reacts. This faith is in perfect keeping with the best that man has learned about himself and the world he lives in. And on such a faith, such a foundation of security, rests all conscious seeking of successful attainment of the better life. Such a faith designates the source of the greater good and the way in which it becomes our experience. In summary, we always succeed. We need to learn to succeed in the right things. This we can do by declaring and affirming the good we desire, and having a firm belief and conviction that it is ours right now. What we believe is firmly established as a spiritual entity, and as such must of necessity manifest itself in our experience. We actually create nothing, but only accept the abundance we desire from the infinite source of all abundance. And so it is.
And so it is. And that reading encapsulates our whole month of talks. It's a good summary for all of us. Today's talk is entitled Just Do It. And we've been talking this month about facing the fear. You know, I was thinking today while I was doing this, the reason we take classes is not always really clear. Sometimes people think they can just come to church and they're done. They understand the science of mind, because we've gone to other churches where they have dogmatic teachings and they say to you, oh, this is what you do on Sunday. Okay, and these are the behaviors you have during the week. We don't have that. We ask you to keep your mind focused in such a way that if you don't take classes, you don't understand why it is you're being asked to keep your mind in that certain way. When I first started learning the science of mind, it was 1974. And in the 70s and 80s, people used to accuse people who didn't understand us, who just came to church periodically. They would say that we were in a state of denial. They thought we were denying the conditions that we were dealing with because they hadn't taken classes and they didn't understand. The first time I went to a practitioner, I didn't understand either. The practitioner barely let me tell what was going on before she started deciding, this is what she needed to treat for. And I was done. She was done with me. And she just gave me an affirmation and said, go focus on this. And she let it be. And I didn't understand because I had not studied the science of mind. And even those of us who have studied the science of mind, we sometimes get caught in the weeds of whatever it is that's going on in the regular world, in our personal world, or in the world outside. Ernest Holmes had, students like my teacher, Dr. Scott, who was one of his last private students, Dr. Hornaday, Dr. Barker, and many other students that he taught. One of them that I had as my teacher, I don't know if Elizabeth Reed was taught by Ernest Holmes, but anyway, she was a science of mind minister. She was the minister of the Santa Cruz Church, and she came to our ministerial class and gave us lessons on homiletics, which is about speaking. And she said to us something that has stuck with me throughout the years. And she said, you're doing your service on a Sunday, and in the back of the room sits a woman whose son has just died, drowned in their family pool. She comes because she wants comfort. She wants you to say something of comfort to her. So that brings a reality to your Sunday that makes you realize that people are all coming from different places. Each one of you has had a different experience this week. Each one of you is having different life experiences. Each one of you is coming this morning, some just wanting a message, you just came to church and this is what I do every Sunday. And so I've just come. Others are like, I'm hurting somewhere and I want to be, I want something, some words, something I can hold on to make me feel better as I go through the rest of my week and my life. And we want to be uplifted. And so, the thing is that we all come with something different. And if we are only coming on Sunday, we're not getting the nuances of the science of mind. But there's one thing that I want you to get today, and is this: the law never changes. If you don't learn anything else about science of mind, you must memorize that. The law never changes. Now, what does that mean? It means that it's not personal. You are not getting something and somebody else is getting something else, because God loves you more or less. Okay? The law never changes. Right now, our world is in crisis. We've got the pandemic, which we've been dealing with for months. We have the climate crisis with fires and hurricanes and all kinds of natural disasters going on. We've got nuclear weapons that we don't hear a whole lot about, but at the same time, they are building up again. We've got racial injustice going on and lots of unrest around that. We have people, we have an election going on right now for us in our country. And then we have the conflict arising as a result of the death of one of our Supreme Court justices, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we've got all this stuff going on, and it's like all summer long, it's been one thing after another after another. It was like you just kind of get used to one thing and something else comes along. And we have to know how to live in a world that is riddled with people worldwide feeling fear and anxiety. How do we work with it all? How do we deal with it on a regular daily basis? Because even though we turn off the TV and we don't want to listen to the news, look, we are part of it all. And so somehow or another, we are dealing with this, whether we watch it on TV and watch it on the Facebook or whatever it is, wherever we get our news, we're getting it in some form or fashion, and we need to know how to deal with it. And so keep in mind, what did I say? Memorize this statement: the law never changes. So in our Science of Mind textbook, the one that we all have been reading and studying from, the one that was written in the 40s, it has a whole chapter on faith. But the original 1926 edition, I got curious this week and said, what did Ernest Holmes originally say about faith? Nothing. There is no chapter on faith in the original textbook. So I looked to Troward, which is one of Ernest Holmes' teachers. He doesn't talk about faith either. There's no chapter and there's no lecture, because his work is all done in lectures, and they've transcribed them into books. He's not talking about faith either, not directly. But what they do talk about in both is the law is the same for everybody. It is impersonal. The law never changes. The law responds to us in our fear or our faith. So if you are faithful, the law responds to you in that way. If you are fearful, the law responds to you in that way. So you see, they didn't have to talk about fear or faith in the beginning. All they needed to talk about was the law. And here's the thing, 1926 was when? It was after World War I and before the Depression. The second textbook came out during World War II and after the Depression. So what was happening? People were fearful, and so they needed the chapter on faith. People are fearful now. We are living in a time when people are afraid of losing their homes. They're afraid they're not going to have enough groceries for their children. They are fearful of a lot of things right now. Fearful of getting sick, fearful of dying. People go into the hospital and they're not necessarily going to come out. And people are the minute they find out they have COVID, what do? It's worse than cancer. They don't know if they're going to live or die. So we're living, all of us are living with so much fear right now. So we have got to know how to respond to all of this. We have to know how to live in this world that has so much fear going on right now. And so Troward says, if we recognize the power of thought to produce any results at all, any results at all, we shall see that the law by which negative thought produces negative results is the same by which positive thoughts produce positive results. And that's what the reading was that Zizi did this morning. People who think success receive success. Why? Because they are following a law. Whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether you are experiencing it, you are living with the law of gravity right now, and you don't have to know anything at all about it. But you have to obey it. Do you see? And we learn to obey it gradually. This is the law of growth that he's talking about. He's telling us that things take time to grow and to mature into expression. And so we plant a seed in consciousness and we care for it by how? Staying positive. We care for it by living with the realization that it is showing up. It is coming to about. But he says we distrust the law of growth. And so what happens is we have anxiety and despair replacing our cheerful expectation with which the seed was planted. And we are reversing the action of the original cause and consequently reversing the nature of the result. So let me explain that because there's a lot of words. We plant a seed of, let's say we want a new job. Okay, that's the easiest thing to think about. We want a new job. We want new employment. And so we start thinking about what it is that we want because we're planting the idea and thought. We're not running out and writing resumes yet. We're thinking, what kind of job is it that I want? Where do I want to be? You know, what kind of money do I want to make in this job? What kind of people do I want to work with? How harmonious do I want my work environment? And you flesh out this whole image of this is the seed. It's the seed of what it is that you desire. Okay, you completely flush it out and you fill it out and you make it as clear as you possibly can. And then he says you start to live in that. So when you go to write your resume is reflective. You may have two resumes. You may have the resume that is yours. This is my job. And it has all of this harmony and a joy and a happiness and the money that you want to make and all that. That's your resume. But then there's a resume that you write that you send out to other people that has your experience on it and all the other things that go on a resume. Do you get what I'm saying? And so you want to live in your resume, even though those people out there that you're sending to the HR department and all the various companies, that's theirs. But you are living in your position. And then he says there's a law of growth. So what happens when you get a denial? Then you start getting anxious, don't you? And you start getting fearful. Well, maybe this isn't going to happen. And what he's saying there is now what you're doing is you're getting away from your desire and you're living in the world. And guess what? The law never changes. It's going to respond to this joy that you have put in mind, that you have planted in mind, or it's going to respond to the anxiety and the despair that you have. Now, you may eventually get your desired position, but what's going to happen if you start feeling anxious about it? It's going to take you longer. Because the law of growth, remember? The law of growth. What happens when you plant you put a seed in the ground, right? It will grow healthy and strong if you care for it. If you make sure it's in the proper soil, if you make sure it has the proper amount of water, if you make sure it has the proper amount of sunlight, if you do the care that is supposed to, you weed the stuff around it. And sometimes with some plants, you have to cut them back and trim them in order to have them to grow and blossom beautifully. Okay. If you care for it, guess what? You get beautiful, beautiful plants, right? But what happens if you plant that seed and you walk away and you don't do anything with it And you come back 6 weeks later and go, what happened to my plant? If it just so happened that you planted it in a good place and nature took its course, you might have a pretty decent plant, but it's not going to be the same plant that you had if you had taken care of it. You see, any farmer knows this, but we've long gone from farms. You see, and so we don't always see that it takes time for stuff to grow and to expand into the expression that we're looking for. What we have to keep in mind, the law never changes. The variable factor, Troward says, is not the law, but our volition, our decision, our relationship to it. So we have to learn how to plant a seed in consciousness and stick with it. We are dealing, he says, with the substance of things that are not seen. Where did you hear that? In the Bible. Because these guys were steeped in the Bible. They knew their Bibles, believe me. So what he's telling us is what they said in Hebrews, that we are dealing with substance unseen. So we have to learn how to live in a world that we do not yet see, but know that it is there. How do you do that? What is that like? When the farmer plants tomatoes, guess what? He's expecting tomatoes. Zizi's reading. The person who's successful expects success. We have to expect a healing if that's what we're looking for. We have to expect whatever it is that we are praying for, desirous of. We have to have the expectation that it's not coming, but it is already here. The substance of things not seen. So the truth in the seed is already how do I say this? When the in the seed is the completed plant. Okay, so I think someone said, in the acorn is the entire tree. So in your desire is the completion of that desire. But the law of growth means that you have to stay focused. You have to stay focused until you see what it is that you desire to see. It's very simple, but it's not easy. Do you see? It's not easy. Why? Because that's why we say to people, do not tell other people what you are praying for. Because why? They are looking in the world. You are looking at the unseen substance, and they are looking at what they see in the world. So when you tell them, "Oh, I have this wonderful job," and you just go on and describe it, everything, and they go look at you, "Oh, where are you going to work to get that? What kind of place? I've never seen any place like that." Oh, and what do? They start pouring on you all the negativity, and you say, "Oh, geez, well, maybe I can't do that after all." Our desires are what we do not yet have. They are the unseen. And we have to develop the habit of seeing the spiritual reality and not the stuff that we see in the world. The real world, they will tell you, is a pandemic. But the spiritual world is absolute healing. Everybody, healthy, whole, complete. The real world will tell you there's racial injustice and unrest. But the spiritual world says we are all one. We are one. We are whole, perfect, and complete. We are unified whole. The real world will tell you there's a climate crisis. But the spiritual world says what? Nature is caring for itself, and we are the stewards of it, and we're doing a great job. Do you see? We have to learn to stay focused on our desire and not on what we see. We used to go to the Selamart for years. There's a conference in Northern California on the Pacific coast. And at a Selamar, the whole week, it was so wonderful because it was music that was always uplifting. There was prayers being done all day. The ministry of prayer was going on, and practitioners prayed around the clock. They had, I participated at times. We had times where we were scheduled for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever time that you wanted. And you sat in prayer the whole time for the conference and everybody there. We ate meals together and we enjoyed one another. We had wonderful talks. We walked on the beach. We had great talks in lessons and workshops and all kinds of stuff, okay? And people the last day would have this conversation, well, I'm on my way back to the real world. And somebody invariably would say, this is the real world. And it really is. The real world is where we are joyful and happy and getting along with one another. But we have to see it. We have to experience it. In order to experience it, we have to see it, know it, and believe it, accept it, and live in it ourselves. Do you see? That's the real world. The real world is a world of joy and happiness. But what do if we look around and we go, oh, there's nothing but despair, then guess what? That's what we're going to experience. And that's where a fear of faith. The thing is the law works. You will either have fear or you will have faith, and your experience will manifest as fearful experiences or faithful experiences. It's totally and completely up to you. We think, and it's hard to find references where Ernest Holmes actually talked about things that seemed to reflect what was going on in the world. But Jesse Jennings, a few years ago, wrote a book called The Essential Ernest Holmes. Just a minute. And he gathered together a bunch of things that Ernest Holmes had written. Some of them are his talks from the radio show that he did. And there were a couple that I want to share with you today. In the introduction, Jesse explains that Ernest Holmes, while being a man of his era, his denomination was among the first of any stripe in America to license and ordain women as in the ministry. And he goes on to say that the equitable aspect wasn't always seamless. The third branch church to be organized and chartered was in East Los Angeles, and it was led by Reverend J. Arthur Twine, an African American, with a congregation that was both Black and white. When some complaints were murmured about this, resulting in June 1945 issue of the Science of Mind magazine dropping the East Side from first to last in hitherto alphabetical listing of the metropolitan LA branches. The churches in the Science of Mind magazine, the churches used to be listed in the Science of Mind magazine and in the back so that people could go to them. And they were listed in alphabetical order. The Los Angeles church area had several churches, and so they listed them in alphabetical order. And so what he's saying here is that the East Los Angeles church that should have been first was dropped to last. And they tacked on the designation colored. Ernest arranged with his friend, Reverend Twine, to go there and speak to Reverend Twine's church. And he says, to a hushed, packed house, he began. I have been told, these are Ernest Holmes' words, I have been told that too many non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and non-Caucasians in this congregation. But this we must affirm. We are all children of one living God, one life that permeates all without exception, one intelligence that governs all. And most important, every man and woman who abides in the universe is a significant entity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open to all. Whoever you are, be proud. You are a divine idea in the mind of God. But that wasn't the only time that Ernest said something that I think is pertinent to what we're doing today and what we're dealing with today. On August 6th of 1950, it was the beginning of the early days of the Korean conflict, which we now call the Korean War. And he wrote a talk, and he gave it on his radio program, This Thing Called Life. And rather than me reading it to you, because it's rather lengthy, I want to share with you a portion of it. So Marcia, can I share a screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so. So he says, that which was born in faith must be kept through faith. As never before, our thoughts, our meditations, our hopes, and our prayers must rise in one common accord. And you and I should form the habit of taking definite time each day to pray for peace with justice, for there is no peace possible without justice. We should take time each day to pray, to know and to meditate on the thought, and to meditate affirmatively with complete acceptance that our leaders everywhere are being guided by the all-sustaining wisdom and upheld with the all-sustaining power of good. And we should pray for the peace of our own minds, that we shall not become confused. But faith without works is dead. So we should not only pray, we should act, each contributing the best he has to the common purpose, each willing to make any sacrifice necessary, not a sacrifice reluctantly made, but as one who offers all he has for the two great purposes. One, in a certain sense, a selfish one, for we all desire self-preservation. But the other, in the greater sense, that there can be no individual self-preservation without the preservation of all. For if the whole nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power and an actual soul force will penetrate the whole world, helping to bring confidence and calm judgment and right action until the crisis shall have passed. Freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of right, and faith will always conquer fear. The world is perhaps at the point of the greatest crisis in all human history, and there seems to be two attitudes we can assume. One is calmness, faith, and conviction. The other would be despair, and despair is unthinkable. Let each in his own way dedicate his time, his service, his hope, and his spiritual conviction to the common cause of liberty and justice for all. And let's work without tiring and pray without ceasing. Something alive and meaning, something alive with meaning is taking place. Something vibrant with hope is happening. Something latent with the possibility of the future is being conceived. I can't think of anything that he has written that is more pertinent today. We have got to focus our attention on our faith. Everybody doesn't know this. You and I do. So this is our responsibility. And the responsibility of everyone who knows this truth, to focus every day on that which we desire, a peaceful world, a loving world, a world where everyone is loved and accepted. And we practice it by doing it. We do it in our own world. We live like we're in a Silmar every day. Are we going to get challenged? Oh, yeah, we're going to get challenged. We're going to challenge ourselves because we're going to look out there in the world and we're going to see despair and we're going to see hopelessness. We're going to see grief and we're going to want to get involved with it. And we have to take a step back and say, this is not the truth. We are living in a spiritual reality and not a physical one. The manifest world is what we have collectively thought together. And we are in the process of changing that because we are standing firm in the truth of knowing that there is only good and that good is for all. And so today, I want us just to close with that thought in mind. So if you join me in prayer. Today, we know that the law never changes. Today, we affirm that we know the law never changes. And so we allow ourselves now to enter into that consciousness, that awareness, that there is only one life, one presence, one power, one good, one all-consuming, all-knowing, perfect, whole, and complete spiritual essence that is the center and circumference of all there is. Everywhere, it is everywhere present, is the originator, and it is the absolute beginning of all creative force in this world. And so as we allow ourselves to just simply bask in the awareness that this is the truth, that this truth is a reality that even though we may not always see it or feel it or know it, that we are knowing that it is there anyway. Just as we go to sleep at night, knowing that there's a sky above us, we are asleep and we do not see it, but it is there. It is there and it never goes away. It is always there above us, whether we are awake and walking or whether we are asleep and unconscious to it. And just as the sky above us is always there, regardless of whether it has clouds or sunshine or rain, it is always there. So too is God, always there, whether we see it, feel it, know it, or experience it, it is always there. And so therefore, all it takes is for us to simply turn our attention to it, accept it, and acknowledge it, and say, I am ready to experience it. And so therefore we know that we are always divinely protected. We are always divinely guided. We are always understood by the Spirit. It knows our heart. It knows our thoughts because it is who and what we are. And it is calling us, each and every one of us, within the sound of my voice, here or on this audio tape. It is calling us to be all that we can possibly be in this moment. It is calling us to know a truth that is not being seen or felt or experienced. It is calling us to be all that we can possibly be in standing in the truth of who and what we are and knowing that it is manifesting regardless of what we see on the outer world. We are no longer allowing ourselves to be captured by that which is in the world. We are turning our attention inward and we are standing in the truth, a spiritual truth. We are the warriors for peace, for love, for joy, for goodness, for grace, and for God to be expressed everywhere, embracing us all in the oneness, regardless of what we call it. Regardless of how we experience it, we are knowing that every person, every thought that we think is totally and completely enveloped in that which is the wholeness within our own mind. And knowing this is the truth, believing it, accepting, and allowing not just our faith, but our deep, deep conviction of who and what we are. We allow it to guide us, direct us, and be that which we are this day. And from moment to moment, from day to day, we are the living vibration of the one spirit, the one life, the one goodness that is present within all. We seek it out, we express it, and we know it. And therefore we experience it. And so it is with so much gratitude and thanksgiving for this and so much more. I know that the law has already received this word because the law never changes. The law always is accepting whatever it is we're giving to it. It does it as we speak it, as we think it, as we feel it, because it is who and what we are. And so in gratitude, I release this word, knowing it is done, that each one of us is experiencing it in accordance with our own faith, with our own understanding, with our own awareness, which is growing now in leaps and bounds, so that we may fully and completely express the truth of who we are. And so it truly is. Amen. Okay, so let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's a blessing.
All right, you guys, sing for us.
Well, I don't know how to follow that.
I don't know how to follow it either.
Wow, that was wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. You got Connie all fired up here. And me.
Okay, great. All right, good, you
And
guys.
here's a little song that
Okay.
might go along with what I don't know if it'll even touch what you did just now. But it's by Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin, and the title is Everything to Do with Love.
And the message in the song is that we're not going to change the world by fighting and one side winning and one side losing, and boundaries and being tough. It's everything to do with love. Okay? All right. I had a dream, a vision. I woke up singing in the middle of the night, 'cause the world had finally got it right. It's got nothing to do with history or which side lost or won. It's got everything thinking that you gotta be tough. It's got everything, everything to do with love. With our differences behind us, the world looks new. Maybe something as simple as kindness can see us through. Well, it takes as long as it takes, and we know it. When the moment is right, you'll hear someone singing in the morning light. There is so much hope to hold on to, and so many songs to be sung. It's got everything, everything to do with love. Yes, ma'am. It's got everything, everything to do with love. I had a dream, a vision. I woke up singing in the middle of the night, 'cause the world had finally got it right. Yes, there is hope to hold on to, and so many songs to be sung. It's got everything, everything to do with love. Oh yeah, oh yes, it's got everything, everything to do with love. One more time, all right? It's got everything, everything to do with love.
Thank you.
Yes, once again, truth affirmation songs. Yes. All right, thank you. All right, Marcia, take it away. What's that you're waving?
Okay, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Next week, we have the fabulous Jennifer Farron is going to join us. I'm sure you guys have seen her around on the positive music circuit. She's a fabulous musician, and she's going to share some songs with us of her new CD. That's October the 4th. And then October 25th, we have the wonderful, who is it? John Stringer coming to be with us. And he's going to deliver the message also. And he is a delight. And if you've seen him, I know you want to see him again. And if you haven't seen him, you do not want to miss it. Right, Marcia?
Well, thank you very much for doing my announcements.
Well, I was afraid you'd forget.
I wasn't going to forget. It's right down here.
Okay, well, I did it for you. You say, don't
I
let
was
breath.
iterated. Okay, Marcia.
Yes, John Stringer is absolutely awesome. Absolutely. All right. It's time to talk on how you can support our center. There are 3 ways that you can give. If you would like to give electronically, you can give via PayPal, and I'm going to put that link in the chat because I forgot to do it before I started screen sharing. So I will post everything after I'm done. If you'd like to send a check, go ahead and send it to the address that's on the screen in the chat window in a minute, or it's also always at the bottom of our newsletters. And of course, if you're an Amazon shopper, go ahead and get the link out of the chat window, and that's the easiest way to connect with Amazon Smile and be attached to our center. And anytime you purchase through smile.amazon.com, Amazon will donate a small portion of what you spent with them to us. So, and here is our offertory affirmation. I am grateful for the divine givingness circulating abundantly through my life, our community, and our world.
Okay, so thank you, Marcia, and thank you, Cynthia, for doing our announcements. I would like to acknowledge Zizi for doing the reading today, and thank you, Floyd, for doing the opening prayer. Thank you, Mike, for always doing a great job of getting us started. And Cynthia and Connie, thank you so much for the music. The songs were perfect today. And yes, we are having Jennifer Farron. If you don't know Jennifer, it's worth coming to church next week, as well as the 25th. Is John going to do the talk too on the 25th? Cynthia? Yeah, so John is going to do our service as our talk. He's going to take my place. Okay. And he's going to do the music. I am looking forward to it. Marcia has had the experience of him, and I called because I didn't know who he was, and she goes like, "Yes, he's awesome. Yes, he's awesome." So please do plan to be there and bring some friends. Okay, so let's see. Today we have visioning. We had visioning for the first time a couple weeks ago. We're going to have another visioning session today for a few minutes after. It takes about half an hour. And it's about visioning for our church, for our spiritual center. I guess you all know that we can't be what we used to be. And I don't know how long we're going to be online like this. And so we need this vision, something, I don't know what happened to my thing here. I don't know why stuff happens with this. Anyway, my computer just did something, and I'm just changing it back. I did not touch it. And it's thinking for itself now. It's like, you're not supposed to think for yourself, computer. All right, so that's our announcements for today, I think. And Marcia's going to take a screenshot of us so that we can post it. And I think those are all our announcements. And don't leave today before the music. We're going to have a video. And Daniel Nahmod did a song that came as a result of COVID. He's written it as from this period of time. So, Marcia, you want to go ahead and play it? What on earth is going on here?
Cape on my back. I always wanted to be the best in my pack. I always wanted to be known to be good, to be the hero of my own hood. If I could just fly, I could save everyone. Stop all the wars so nobody's gotta run. All the killing, all the crimes, pain and suffering. It's getting tougher to be buffered from it all. Are we gonna make it through? Is he gonna fly back in? Cause if he don't come right now, I don't think good will win. Time is running out. Do we want to wait for him? Or is it our time now to bring the good back in? We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the ground. It's up to me and you right here, right now. Superhero, na 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 na. Superhero, whoa, 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 whoa. Superhero, na 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 na. Superhero, whoa, whoa, whoa. The world is full of so much pain, and though I can't fly, I can do my little part here before I die, yeah. I may not win the Nobel Prize, but at least I can try to be a little more kind, spend a little more time in my changing life, yeah. Like giving a hug up when somebody is down. Feeding the soul when there's nobody around. Small things that can change the sound. And the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Started small, now it's touched the crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out. That if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do. Standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the cloud. It's up to me and you, right here, right now. Superhero, na 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 na. Superhero, oh, 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 oh. Superhero, na 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 na. The superhero, oh, oh, oh. It's the smallest things that make a difference, and all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free, yeah. We don't need to be fast and strong, cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, cause you don't need to be a Superman. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do, standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the cloud. It's up to me and you, right here, right now. If it's superhero, feeding the soul when there's nobody around. Superhero, and the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Superhero, the crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the cloud. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds.
So we are all superheroes, and remember what Ernest Holmes said: act, pray, meditate on the truth, and act from the power that you have where you are. Because faith without works is dead. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. I certainly enjoyed our service. I hope you did too. I appreciate Marcia and everyone who is busy helping us to make this service happen, including Sandy, who, by the way, is organizing our readers for next month. So if you would like to be a reader, please put that in the chat. I would, and she will contact you. Okay. Thank you so much for being here today. Be sure and stay for our visioning if you have time to do that. And Marcia, we have a closing. We go forth today knowing that we are God's blessing in the world. And only good goes from us and only good comes to us. And so it is. Okay, thank you so much.